A recent buyer made a huge mistake, but I think that we can learn some lessons from his story. So what happened? Well, I recently bought a low-grade copy of Edge of Spider-Verse 2, First Appearance of Spider-Gwen for $55. And my plan was to sell it on eBay, and I was hoping to sell it for $100. But since it was low grade, it was really hard to determine what it would actually get on eBay. So I went ahead and listed it for $150 and thought, hey, yeah, if it doesn't move, I can just keep adjusting it every week until hopefully again I get that $100. Well, to my surprise, just a couple of hours later, I got an offer for $115. And so I was super excited about that. But eBay gives you 24 hours to determine whether or not you're going to accept an offer. And so as I always do, I decided, well, yeah, I'll just wait another 24 hours to see if anybody beats this offer. After all, this offer came in after the book had only been listed for 2 hours. So clearly there's a lot of demand for it. Well, a couple of hours later, I did get another offer, but this time it was only for $70. So, of course, I declined the offer, but when you do that, you can add a message to the notification that the potential buyer receives that their offer was declined. And so I did that and said, hey, man, thanks for the offer, but I've already got one for $115 if you would like to try and beat it. Well, about 2 minutes later, he sent me another offer, but this time it was only for $85. And so I thought to myself, well, yeah, I guess this guy didn't see my message, or either he's just mad that I didn't accept his offer and so now he's just trolling me. But I then obviously declined that offer, and this time I didn't put a message because I wanted to send a clear signal that I'm not interested in anything again below $115. Well, 2 minutes later, he sent me another offer, this time for only $100. And so at this point, I'm like, I'm pretty sure this guy just did not see my initial message. And so I declined the offer again, but also added the message, hey, I don't know if you saw my original message, but I already have an offer for $115. Well, then 2 minutes later, I got another offer, this time for only $110, but this time he added a message to the offer that he sent, because you also have that option on eBay. He said, hey man, I'm running out of offers here because you only get 5 before you can't make any more offers, and this was number 4. So he said, I'm running out of offers. I'd really love to have this book to replace a copy that got stolen out of a storage unit. And so at this point, I'm pretty sure that he is just not reading the messages that are accompanying the notification that his offers have been declined. But I feel a lot of empathy for him, obviously having his book that he loves stolen. And so I want to help him get my copy of the book that I'm selling, if at all possible. And one of the reasons I love selling comic books is to help people add things to their collection that they really love. And so I decide to send him a more direct message through the eBay Messenger function, and hoping that he sees that notification and actually will read the message. And so I say, hey man, I don't know if you've been seeing the other messages that I've been sending to you, but I already have an offer for $115, so I can't take anything below that. But I really would like to give you the opportunity to buy this book. So if you put an offer in for $120, then I'll take down the listing and it's yours. I won't wait for $125 or $130 offer, but it will be yours immediately if you put in this $120 offer. So he responds and he says, yeah, that would be great, because he had been looking for a copy that was less than the money that he had gotten from the insurance for the copy that had been stolen, and $120 was less than whatever it was that he had gotten. And he said, first though, let me go check with my wife to make sure that she's okay with me spending this money. And so I said, yeah, sure, that's fine, take your time. This offer, will stand. And so he comes back just a few minutes later, messages me and says, yeah, I will take the offer. Please send a counter offer for $120 and I will accept it immediately. And as I'm reading that message, all of a sudden I see another message from him, and it says that I just checked the book and it's saying that it's out of stock now. And I am like, oh my goodness. The only reason that this book would be out of stock is because someone else went and actually just bought the book for the $150 listing price. Because if somebody had sent me an offer for $130 or $140, something less, then I would have declined that offer because I had already committed to selling to this guy for $120. Again, I really wanted to help him. But if somebody just straight out bought the book, that isn't something that I have control over. I can't decline that sale. And so I went and checked, and lo and behold, someone had bought it for that full $150. And I'm telling you, I have never felt so heartbroken about making an extra $30. And so I responded to him and I said, hey, man, this is such a bad break. But in those few minutes, someone did come by and buy this book, and I can't do anything about it. And so he responds, and of course he's frustrated and says, man, I was getting so excited too. I've been looking for this book for a long time. And of course, again, I'm just feeling really bad for the guy. And so I respond and say, man, yeah, again, it's just terrible. I'll tell you what, there's anything else in my online store that you see, I'll give you an automatic 20% off of it. But obviously my hands are tied when it comes to this Edge of Spider-Verse 2. I mean, who knew that Spider-Gwen was that popular, or even a low-grade copy goes for $150? It actually did surprise me that someone paid that amount for it. And it kind of made me think, man, maybe I should have listed it for $200. What could have this gone for? Because this is all within a few hours of listing it. Well, anyway, he then did respond and said, hey, I understand, it's just business and no hard feelings. And then we exchanged a few messages that were pleasant. He talked to me about some of the things that he collected. And so I was glad that we were able to end it on a friendly note. And, again, my heart just broke for him. But I think there are a few lessons that we can take from this. First of all, if there's a comic that you're hunting, especially one that's in high demand, know what you're willing to pay for it before you see the book, especially when you're looking at public listings. Because in a matter of seconds or minutes, a book can be bought by someone else. I'm sure we've all had bad experiences at a comic show or again on eBay or something where we're looking at a book and we're thinking it over and we're hemming and hawing and maybe I should get this, I don't know. And boom, somebody comes and takes it right out from under our nose. Where if we're more prepared beforehand, and if he knew beforehand, hey, I'm willing to pay $120 for this book, and I've already talked it over with my wife, that's something I've done with my wife. We've talked about comic purchases beforehand, so that when this comes and I see a deal that may not last, I know that I can go in for that deal. So have those conversations beforehand, because again, seconds, minutes matter when it comes to comics that are listed publicly. I've seen stories of people who got to a yard sale 10 minutes late and all the comics were gone. Obviously that isn't going to happen all the time, but the more we can be prepared beforehand with our knowledge of what we're willing to pay, and the more that we can have the conversations beforehand with anyone that we need to discuss our finances with, just will increase our likelihood of being able to get the comic that we want. And relatedly, don't lowball offers on a book that's in high demand. If he hadn't wasted his time sending a $70 offer, an $85 offer, a $100 offer, $110 offer, if he just gotten straight to it. And again, I want a good deal as much as anybody. So I can understand those offers, but I'm assuming, again, he's been hunting for a while, so he probably was aware of what this book usually goes for. Then you should put in a competitive offer early, once again, to increase the likelihood that you are able to get that book. And finally, I think we can learn communication is key. I think there are a few mistakes were made. First of all, he wasn't checking the messages on the declined offer. But then secondly, something he did well is when he started initiating communication and sharing a little bit of his story of why he wanted that comic. I mean, those personal stories matter. And it had me where I was willing, and happily willing. I wouldn't have looked back and regret if later someone had said, hey, I would have given you $150 for it. Dang it, I sold it for $120. I would have been happy because I would have turned a profit. But again, help this guy get this book that he had been hunting. And so that communication, the more you can share your personal story about a comic book with someone, the more you can endear yourself to a seller or to a buyer as well. But especially if you're looking to buy comics, the more you can endear yourself to a seller, the more likely they're going to be willing to work with you and to give you a good deal. And so I wish he had done that earlier rather than later, because it really helped his case once that communication happened. And so if you're buying on eBay or on Facebook or any other platform, the more that you can try to establish a personal connection with someone on the other end of the computer, or even if you're at a comic show or your LCS, the more that you can establish those connections, the better the chance you're going to be able to land some books at a good price. Now, as I mentioned earlier, probably all of us have heartbreaking stories like this. I know one that will always haunt me is that I saw this collection for sale on Facebook, and so I sent a message to the person because there were some great books at a wonderful price, including a book that I was hunting at the time, Fantastic Four, number 94, the first appearance of Agatha Harkness, and they were asking for 50 cents per book. And so I said, hey man, I'm really interested in these books. Could I come by tomorrow and buy them from you? Well, I got a response a few hours later, and they told me, well, somebody actually came tonight to pick them up. And because I was slow on the draw, I lost out on that book. And if you saw a video that I put out several months ago about Fantastic Four 94, that eventually I ended up overpaying for one. And so that one hurts me even more. Not only did I miss out on one for a good price, but then I overspent on another one. And so it's something that's cost me hundreds of dollars. And so anyway, I'm sitting here. I'm lost now. I'm starting to live in that regret and thrown off. But you tell me, what is a book that you missed out on because you diddle-daddled around and then somebody else came and swept it out right from under your nose? Now, of course, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you consider doing so now. Like, again, comment about books you've missed out on or just anything else you want to share. Thanks for watching, and as always, I look forward to seeing you in the next one.